What it do, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Here we are with the woke TikToker hates Britain for its colonial past. Very intrigued to hear what this woke TikToker has to say and what this guy's gonna say in response to that. But before we can dive into this video, if you enjoy it, then make sure you do not forget to hit that subscribe button and get a video a like.
Hi and welcome to History Legends. Today we'll be reacting to a video from a TikToker called Saad Mustafa UK. I absolutely wanted to show you this gem, this cringe gem. And you know what's the worst? The video got nearly 1.8 million views and over 300,000 likes. Be prepared for a classic History Legends rant.
I'm
it's
prepared
because it's the kind of rewriting of history and propaganda that just deserves a no. And the worst is, if you go through the comment section, people believe him. Are you ready?
Let's
Fresh
do it.
cut. Done. La chasse est faite. Let's go.
What's a history fact that just gets you choked up every time you have to tell it?
So being Pakistani, growing up, I was always told we should be grateful to be in this country, and Indians are our enemies and stuff.
I mean, there is some truth to it. Pakistan and India did clash 4 times in the past 70 years. 1946.
The tension is still very high. I react to a lot of videos on my India channel, and it seems like the tension between the two countries is still pretty high. So I can understand that.
1965, 1971, 1991, plus ongoing border skirmishes in Kashmir. So yeah, the claim that Pakistanis and Indians are enemies is not completely crazy. And historically speaking, let's be honest, most of the invasions of the Indian subcontinent, South Asia, came from the northwest, through modern-day Afghanistan and Pakistan. Think of Alexander the Great, Timur, Babur, Ahmad Shah Durrani from Afghanistan, and Nader Shah from Persia. And that's just to name a few, and 4 out of these 5 conquerors were Muslim. So the ongoing beef between Hindu-majority India and Muslim-majority Pakistan is not new at all. And this division cannot solely be blamed on the evil white British men plotting against South Asia.
That's true.
And one last fact.
That's true.
And let's not forget that right after World War II, the Muslim League voted overwhelmingly in favor of a partition of British India. The British did not want a partition actually, but there were so many conflicts within India that it just happened. Already in the 1930s, the Muslim League had created this entity called Pakistan, and they wanted their own Muslim majority country.
And then as I learned history and...
Whenever people say, as I've learned history and the more I learned, you know, this is BS. Every single time I argued with people, they said the same thing and they knew nothing. They take little facts they've learned here and there from random sources, plug them together, and here you go. An airlift, an airfield of BS. And by the way, if you...
I ain't gonna lie, that's a lot of how I learn history. Like, I just really like watch a lot of videos on YouTube because I get the chance to react to a lot of videos, and I learn a lot of different things from all these videos. So I guess I don't properly, but I don't I'll always tell you that I don't know enough details. I don't to have an opinion on it. I don't give my opinion, and if I do, I tell you like, hey, I could be completely wrong. But yeah, I guess I've never read or studied history books and looked into details of history. I don't know. I'm a fan of learning history through these videos, but books and research and all that, I probably wouldn't be the biggest fan in learning that way.
If you have any other TikToks you want me to react to on YouTube, either tag me on TikTok directly or send them on Instagram. Make sure to send me some spicy ones.
And the more I've learned, the more I realized that, we weren't always like this. We were one nation. We were South Asia before Britain came over, and we had...
What? Oh my god, no! This is where I have to disagree even more. What exactly was South Asia before the British came over? I highly recommend you this video, especially if you're a map nerd like me. It's called The History of India Every Year. And you can clearly see just how fractured the Indian subcontinent was for most of its history. One kingdom against another, one dynasty toppling another for hundreds of years, like an Indian Game of Thrones. He says we were one nation. No, just no. There's only two entities that managed to fully unite South Asia. There's the Mauryan Empire, but that was like 2,000 years ago.
Oh,
and the British. The British were the ones creating this one South Asian nation he fantasizes about. And the good thing is that Indian history is rich. We have lots of records of what happened in the past hundreds and hundreds of years. It's not like with the natives, where essentially their history starts with the colonizers coming over with the written records. We have no idea what happened before, so a lot of people have this fantasy imagination that they were all living peacefully together until the Europeans came over, which we know is wrong. But with India, we have a proof. We know South Asia is also home to not one, but 650 different languages. And there are also so many religions there. Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, Sikhism, Christianity, Jainism. So how are they united? Perhaps skin color is what he has in mind, but even then, look at the different people from Pakistan and Sri Lanka. They're not really the same people. So yeah, the premise of his argument is already historically inaccurate. And you know it, this is the perfect recipe to get history legends mad. There's no way he actually read through the history of it all. I can't believe it. Either it's him just being lazy that he didn't actually read through just a couple headlines here and there, or there's an agenda. He purposely misleads his audience. And I don't know which one is worst.
The highest economy, we had everything and anything we wanted. And then Britain came over and they did us some damage, okay? They divided us. They stole from us. They stole trillions, by the way. I'm not even exaggerating. It's trillions. The Queen still has the diamond in her crown, which belongs to us, the Kohinoor.
Come on, how can you know trillions? How do you even calculate this? This argument of the stolen trillions come from an economist, or rather political activist. And her name is Utsa Patnaik. She claims that Britain stole $45 trillion from India.
That's what I've seen in many videos.
Garbage. Long story short, she used a 5% compound interest rate over centuries, which is totally unrealistic, and uses the exact same historical conversion rate between the UK pound and the US dollar at 4.84. And she completely disregards historical devaluations. I'll show you a quick example. Imagine $1 million in 1922 over 100 years at 5% compound interest. It becomes 147 million. Essentially, the 45 trillions represents the investment of these funds. By 2050, Britain would have stolen 236 trillions. It never stops. This guy probably just read one of the headlines on Al Jazeera and is like, that's it. Britain stole from us. We were so happy.
I have seen many videos where in India, I mean, everyone believes, and I've seen like from politicians and everything in India where it's like Britain definitely went over there, colonized, and like looted India, and they like stopped them from being able to create. They were the biggest like exporter of certain fabrics, and I'm just telling you what I've seen. I'm not saying this is correct or wrong. I'm just saying this is what I've seen. That stopped them from being able to make certain fabrics, and because they were already making them in the UK, and so once the UK colonized, it was like, hey, stop the competition, and so they stopped them from making these certain fabrics and actually forced them to buy them from the UK at a much higher price. These things, and that they like stole treasures, and this is what I've seen from videos on my India channel. And then when I go on this channel and I react to like British stuff, it's like, yeah, the British did colonize, but they're saying that the British actually helped India, I guess, they helped India become more prosperous. They left behind a lot of things that help India progress as a people, like trains and railroads and a lot of different stuff, that they've actually progressed more because of the colonization of the British. And so I just think, I mean, from the two perspectives, I don't think either one of them are wrong. I guess it just depends on the perspective that you look at it from. As a people who are colonized, you, of course, you're gonna feel like you're held down by the people that are colonizing you. Of course, you're gonna feel like they're stopping you from being able to progress, and they're taking from you, and they're not allowing you to do these things, and you're being oppressed. And as the colonizers, you're gonna feel like we're doing, like, we're actually helping you guys. Yeah, we're over here and we're doing these things, but you know what I'm saying? We're gonna help this, like, you guys progress. I guess in the sense of, like, without us, you guys were already at war. You guys weren't doing as good as you say you are. But I don't know. I truly, truly don't know. I truly, truly haven't studied the history of whatever went down, exactly what the British left behind, or exactly what they took. I do know empires, colonization, all of that has existed since the beginning of time. As a stronger empire, you're gonna you take over. Like, you're gonna want to expand your land. You're gonna want to expand your territory, and you're going to want to profit from a lot of things. I feel like the U.S. now, while maybe the land's not expanding still, they go into different countries and they put certain people in power that are going to agree with them, or they go into different countries with certain resources, and somehow they find a way to get those resources, because they're more powerful than a lot of countries. Really, probably the most powerful country on earth. Now, innocent people end up getting killed. Innocent people end up, right, be suffering so much because of these things. So whereas the British colonized, Indian people, I'm sure, suffered a ton because of this colonization. And so from their eyes, the British didn't help them. The British oppressed them. The British held them back. The British delayed their progress. The British hurt them. But from British's standpoint, they believe that, hey, like, if it wasn't for us, y'all would still be like, or I don't know if they were before the British came, but British, if it wasn't for us, y'all would be a poor nation. Y'all wouldn't be as progressed as you are today. And so I don't know which side of the fence you agree with. Like I said, I don't know enough about. I hear differing stories from both sides. I don't know enough about history to tell you who's wrong and who's right. I can say I can understand both of the points of view, and both of them feeling like they're right. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section. But let's continue.
So rich, we were the best until these evil white colonizers showed up. This is a recurrent argument of these political activists. I'm sorry, if you were so much the best, how come you got tackled by these puny little white colonizers? Let's get things straight. Britain had 5 million people in 1700. India, 160 million. How come a small island at the other side of the world, with 32 times less population, managed to bring its ships to the coastline of India, drop a couple thousand soldiers, and just win? They managed to subdue the entire Indian subcontinent, which nobody managed to do in the past 2,000 years. How is that
That's
possible?
wild.
Without knowing, his argument feeds exactly the people that said, oh yeah, we the Europeans were just naturally better than all the others. The only explanation is that India was already divided. Put simply, as the Europeans arrived in India, there was a major war between the Muslim-led Mughal Empire and the emerging Hindu Maratha Empire. And if things couldn't get worse, Europeans were not the only foreigners noticing the trouble emerging in India, that India was weakened. This is when Ahmad Shah Durrani from Afghanistan invaded India and put both the Mughals and the Marathan empires to their knees. Europeans came in and simply had to pick up the broken pots. I don't even know if it's an expression in English. No, it is. I promised myself it would be a small rant, but we might be going a bit longer. Anyway, all this trouble resulted in this map of India, and I have it right here. Notice the shrinking Mughal empire, the expanding Maratha empire. But you also see all the European colonies, which, by the way, are not only British, like he claims, or thinks, but also Portuguese, Dutch, and French. You can clearly see on the map that they all wanted a piece of the cake. Who doesn't want cake, right? For example, this was the extent of French possessions in India before they all clashed with the British East India Company. And also notice in the northwest, the nascent Sikh Empire. What makes me mad is that he clearly never looked at the map, and it convinces me more that he didn't look this up. Sees racism everywhere.
But it's more than that. The more I read into it, what they did in terms of the famine, how much they stole from us, the rape and murder, and then what?
You see how he simply cuts that part, doesn't even know what he's talking about. Famine, stealing, the rape and murder, okay, cut. You can literally apply that to every war in history, anywhere in the world. Yes, that did happen with the British. But it's so dishonest and manipulative to ignore that it also happened before Europeans arrived. How do you think the inhabitants of Delhi felt like when Timur sacked, pillaged, plundered their city in 1398? And Timur massacred all Hindus and Muslims alike.
Jesus.
What doesn't he speak about that? Or what about when the Deccan Sultanates plundered the capital of the Vijayanagara Empire after defeating them in battle?
That's what I was saying, like colonizers since the beginning of time. I mean, people have ruled people. Like, and you want to expand your land, you want to expand your territory, you want to grow your economy, and I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it's history. And the British were definitely not the only ones who did this. It's since the beginning of time. There were so many more empires that came before the British Empire. British Empire just happened to be the largest. And so the British Empire gets a lot of hate. But I feel like so with any empire. I feel like the U.S. is probably not an empire, but out of countries in the world, I feel like U.S. is probably the most hated country in the world. Why? Because they do a lot of things around the world that are oppressive, that many people see as evil. That right? They steal, they plunder, they put other people in, they put in power. They do that, and so of course, people see the U.S. It's an evil nation. But yes, these empires. And like I said, I hate seeing people suffer. I hate seeing people being oppressed. I hate it. So I don't really I don't really agree with it. But I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about expanding territory. I don't know anything about expanding land. I don't know anything about how to progress a country. I don't know anything. And so I'm learning through these videos, but I do understand nobody wants to be ruled over. As a person who's ruled over, you're gonna feel oppressed. That's just point, and that's like he said, that's happened all throughout history, much longer. It came way before the British Empire was here. British Empire, I guess, just found out how to become the biggest empire. So when you're the biggest empire, that's gonna get you the most hate.
At Talikota in 1565, only ruins were left, which by the way were found by a British archaeologist. And it's the British that revived the memory of this lost empire of Indian history. But of course, we're not allowed to talk about that. Of course, we have to talk about the celebrity of our video, Ahmad Shah Durrani's 8 invasions of India. This guy just came in and out at will, no breaks from 1748 to 1767, almost 20 years. His goal was to literally invade a rich but poorly defended neighboring country, plunder and exploit her resources. How is it when this guy from neighboring Pakistan explicitly says his goals that no, this is fine, it's among us, we're brothers. Yeah, right. His victims must have felt extremely brotherly. Of course, our friend here is not mad at him or any of the others, but the moment he sees some gingers with fried Mars bars and fish and chips, he goes on a rant.
What else is the kicker is that they never taught us any of this in school.
Perhaps because it's all BS and trash. Did you even think about that?
But like the other thing was they didn't teach us that we also fought in all their wars.
Oh really? Oh yeah, Skull definitely kept the secret of the 54th Sikh Regiment that formed squares at Waterloo, or the Royal Bengali Archers that defeated the French Knights at Agincourt, or even the 1st Punjabi Cavalry that charged the Scots at Bannockburn. Let's be serious, the first time Indian soldiers fought abroad for the British was during the Second Opium War in 1860. And it's true that a lot of Indian soldiers did not want to be deployed out of their home region, but after the mutinies of 1857 and the repression, let's say the British had the final word. And then the Indians did participate in a lot of Britain's colonial wars after that. But I like how he's in Britain and he has this British-centric perspective of history. It's quite ironic. Fun fact, it's the French that actually introduced European drill and tactics to Indian recruits. By 1720, the sepoys on the French service numbered 10,000. The British saw how effective it was. They were very jealous and they just said, okay, let's copy them. But what the British had that the French didn't was cash, lots of cash. I'm joking, but they basically paid off the sepoys of the French army to join them. and it worked. And from what I've read, Indian recruits in British service were actually very happy because the British never missed a payment. Like the Lannisters. But I'm certain what he refers to is World War I and World War II. This is history in his mind. It starts in 1900. And yes, India's contribution was immense. Nobody denies that. During World War I, over 1 million men from British India served overseas, of whom 62,000 died in combat. But what he omits in his analysis is that when the British population or all over the empire heard about Indian soldiers fighting side by side with British soldiers, Canadians, Australians, it actually leveled up Indians to their level, and it then boosted India's prestige in the 1920s. And if they were so poorly treated, how come that during World War II, British India had the greatest volunteer army in history, 2.5 million men, of whom 87,000 died? Why would they even volunteer if conditions were so bad? A lot of them actually had their entire ancestry line fighting for the British for the past 200 years.
And you know the only reason why South Asians actually first originally came to this country was because when the Queen's husband's cousins were bombing this country and destroyed it, and then when the war ended, they asked us to come over to repair it.
Ah, naughty, naughty, naughty. So dishonest. First of all, nobody forced South Asians to move to Britain. And just let's take a look at the numbers. There were 31,000 British Indians by 1951. 30,000 compared to 7,000 in 1932 before the war. Okay, so an extra 20,000 workers to repair stuff. That's not crazy. And actually, there were a lot of Indians already in Britain for a long time. Fun fact, London's first Indian restaurant dates 1810. And by 1850, there were 40,000 Indians living in Britain on and off. The majority were seamen called lascars working on ships and ports. But since most of these men were abroad most of the time, they could not have a wife in India, and they certainly couldn't bring their wife to Britain. It was too expensive, so a lot of them actually married British women. I've read that, I thought that was super interesting, at least more realistic than the Bridgerton. Yes, because I was forced to watch the Bridgerton. But anyway, the large number of
no disrespect to Bridgerton. We love Bridgerton out here.
Asians that came to Britain actually came in the 1960s and especially in the 1970s. Clearly, 30 years after World War II.
And so we did. We came over, fixed it. We brought all our family over then. We were allowed to come over and this and that. So whenever I hear people saying you should be grateful to be in this country or you should be happy that at least you're here, I just think, no.
What makes me mad is that he's not mad at his government for stuff they do right now that could bother him, but rather for what Britain did in its history, for what he thinks they did. It's so lame. We can literally dig up dirt on every single nation on earth.
Like, you guys destroyed our land. We're here now.
This makes me sick. We're here now. We're colonized. Your turn to suffer. Disgusting. This is the stereotypical inverted colonizer complex. So he wants to make the British pay. Alright, why doesn't he go to Afghanistan and settle things with Ahmad Shah Durrani's descendants?
I don't think you need to make the... I think at this point in time, India is rising very quickly as a nation and is quickly rising in the ranks of, you know what I'm saying? Their GDP, their economy's rising. So... India's actually doing really well, so I don't think there would need to be a. Just from what I've seen, India's actually doing really well. I don't think there would need to be any kind of retaliation or anything, and I think, like he said, that's that happened way before us, and so, and I'm not saying that doesn't matter at all, because history matters, as we know, but you can't really. I don't agree with punishing modern day population with the sins of their ancestors, or I guess if you call them sin. Well, yeah, I mean they did do a lot of awful stuff. They did a lot of grace. The British Empire did a lot of incredible things. British Empire, the British really saved the world when it came to World War II when they fought against Hitler and stopped him. That was huge. And the British Empire did help progress the world in the industrial age and everything. The British Empire has done so much for the world. Now, they did do awful things, as every nation or every empire before them had their fair share of great things, had their fair share of awful things. So, but I don't think you can make the people of today try to pay for the sins of their ancestors. I don't think that's something that should be done or that anyone should look to. But I think people should learn history. I probably should properly learn history, doing research and doing all that. But I enjoy watching these videos and kind of getting to hear different perspectives from different countries, people from different nations, and on how they see history. Because I do believe that history is different in the eyes of so many different people, and I don't know, it just kind of fascinates me. But I'll let him finish up. I'm sorry for talking so much in this video. I apologize.
Understand and settle things with Ahmad Shah Durrani's descendants. He's not going to do that. Or Central Asia for the Mughal Empire. No. Let's take the easy target, Britain. I don't understand. After everything he learned in his history, he should be happy that he's actually able to live in England, normal life. And that both India and Britain decided to stop their beef. And that they can move on forward together for a better future. But no, they prefer to be mad at something completely made up.
Okay, so yeah, and it still upsets me to this day because we're not taught this. And we're walking around blind and unknowing, and we were told to not love ourselves. We went from Moguls to Mowgli. And since learning this history, it hurts, but at the same time it helps you grow. So if you are South Asian, go read up on your history. Read how beautiful it is. And I would confidently say this to every South Asian watching this, that we are the prettiest people. Look how pretty we are. Brown, bold, and beautiful.
I told you, skin color was 100% involved in his narrative. You know it. Anyway, honestly, it's just sad. I don't know what to say. I don't know this guy. I don't know what's going on in his life. He talks about racism multiple times. Who knows what he's going through? Perhaps this is his way of expressing things. The problem is that he does this on TikTok, gets 2 million views. It's not as if he's just ranting to his best friend. 2 million people watch and are like, yeah, maybe you're right. That's the problem. And the funny thing is that he mentioned the Mughal Empire. He's proud about the Mughals invading the others. Like, he clearly loves this era where, yeah, they were strong and they were beating the shit out of their neighbors. But when another empire comes in, of course, he doesn't like that. And this is another typical thing of the inverted colonizer complex. When it's their ancestors that invaded, they're happy and proud. But when other people do it, they're like, this is racist, this is colonialism, this is whatever you want in the book. Anyway, this is a rant that exceeded the time limit that I gave myself. If you're watching this, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to help my work, make sure to subscribe to my Patreon or my PayPal. The links are in the description.
They say I was cool when they do it. It's a problem when I do it. No. I think I talked enough throughout that video for you guys to understand where I stand on the topic. And my stance is I don't know enough. We're going to leave it at that. Let me know how you guys feel in the comment section. I'm very intrigued to hear what you guys think. If y'all agree, if you disagree, why not? But I'll see you guys on the next one. This video is already much longer than I wanted it to be. if you enjoyed that, make sure you check this video out next. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Your boy D Neal out.